Planet Vero Studios, brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Welcome to Treasure Coast Community Health. We have 8 locations to serve you better. Our staff is dedicated to help you and your family. Here's your host, Vicki Soule.
Good afternoon and welcome to Community Conversations. It's so nice being back here to speak with you again because every time we get together with one of our guests, it reminds me that we are like a small town grown up. I grew up outside of the city of Detroit, actually in the city of Detroit for many years, and we didn't get to see a lot of those beyond our initial neighborhood and be able to connect with them. And then I moved up to northern Michigan, where the entire county was about 11,000 people in the summer when we saw people come up from the lakes to the lakes area. And so we certainly have more than 11,000 people here. We have people coming in all the time who want to enjoy the beautiful paradise that we have. So we are like the small town that's grown up. And so to that end, we do have a lot of connectedness. And so today I've got Kyleigh Savoie here, who many of you may have known as the Quit Doc liaison for our county. Kyleigh has worked with a lot of our schools, a lot of our nonprofits, a lot of individuals to help us understand the dangers of smoking and vaping. And then this last year, she moved over to the Substance Awareness Center, and she's doing some incredible work there that she's going to tell us about. So welcome, Kyleigh.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I hope you don't mind that I gave your bio in such brief, but I think a lot of folks have grown to know you and all the positive appearances that you help them make when they're interacting with individuals in our community.
Yeah, and I really enjoy my time with the Quit Doc Foundation, and I did kind of get a reputation, especially among those middle school kids, as the vaping lady. I would go to random community events, and kids would come up and be like, "Oh, that's the vaping lady," and their parents would kind of look at me like, I think that requires a little bit more explanation.
Just a little.
So I really enjoyed my time at Quit Doc, and doing things revolving around tobacco and vaping prevention, that is always my passion. But I was so excited to join the Substance Awareness Center with this new opportunity.
Well, it is a dependency on nicotine in some form or format. And, you know, I was hoping as we watch the numbers for smokers go down, that we would eventually say, just like polio, that's off our radar. We don't have to worry about that. But these tobacco companies, ever creative in keeping their industry alive, came out with vaping, and they have really catered to the teens and young adults in terms of making them believe that it's better for them than smoking, and more importantly, sort of hiding the devices so that those on overwatch as parents or grandparents or teachers or other caring adults won't know that they're vaping. And so that's a rebound that was unexpected and, quite frankly, pretty dreadful from a health perspective. Do you see us making much headway in that area over this last year, legislatively and in other formats?
Yeah, actually, Indian River County just passed their ban on smoking in parks and beaches. So smoking and vaping is banned in all Indian River County parks and beaches. So that was a really big step for the county to take. They're one of the first few to do so. So very, very impressive on their end.
That is. And this morning I saw an article that said that in the Miami-Dade area, they have given a grant to a research physician who is looking to find better ways to connect with construction workers. Because of their being outside and constantly on the move, the traditional way of providing support for them in terms of classes or patches or those things that you might find available if you were only in one area are more difficult for them to access. So they're reaching out to try to figure out how do we reach that group of individuals because it's pretty common and very difficult to quit. So, but now you are with the Substance Awareness Center. Tell us a little bit about how you moved over there and what you're doing.
Yeah, so obviously I had worked in tobacco and vaping for about 3 years in the county, and I felt like I had made a lot of progress in getting our county where it needed to be in terms of tobacco prevention, but I felt like there was really more that needed to be done. And at the time, the Substance Awareness Center was floating this idea of communities that care. They were working in partnership with the Executive Roundtable of Indian River County to really see if this was something that was possible. And this process is all about addressing risk and protective factors to create positive behaviors for youth in our county.
Okay.
And so when the Executive Roundtable and the Substance Awareness Center said, well, this is possible, and now we need a coordinator, I was sitting in that meeting because I used to sit on the Executive Roundtable as a member, and I was sitting in that meeting, I was like, you know what? I was like, I could do it.
All right.
And so I had put my hat in. And
Okay. So Communities That Care is certainly more expansive than the DARE program that worked with the middle school, elementary and middle school kids. It really is about business people.
Yeah, so
Correct?
Communities That Care is really a prevention process.
Okay.
We're doing so much great work in this county between all the nonprofits that are here, local businesses. And it's really about how do we coordinate our efforts and how do we support our efforts with data and really get that outcome focus and work together. So it's really this collaborative process that the whole county has to engage in to make it happen and to make it successful. Which is why at the beginning it was so important to get that Executive Roundtable support. And for those who don't know, the Executive Roundtable in Indian River County is really the local elected officials, local nonprofit leaders, all coming to the table and saying, what can we do together to improve the lives of children and families in Indian River County?
And it can't be a hard sell because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we know we still have individuals who are succumbing to bad habits or unhealthy behaviors, or heaven forbid we should use the A word for addiction, which is often where it leads. So tell us a little bit about the process then of kicking off this Community That Cares.
Yeah, so really, we've been working on this now for about 6 to 8 months, and really the first process was getting the key leaders all up to speed and aware of what Communities That Care is, because they are really leading this process. So what the process is we all get together and we learn about prevention science. We learn about the 20 different risk factors that Communities That Care addresses. And then we also learn a little bit about the 6 problem behaviors. So Communities That Care addresses substance misuse, teen pregnancy, school dropout, violence, depression and anxiety, and one more that I am forgetting off the top of my head, but it does address 6 different problem behaviors.
That's a pretty long list as it is.
Yeah.
Even if you get to number 4, you're going, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So the Communities That Care then is not something that just sounds good. It has some history in other communities. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what really happened with Communities That Care is about 40 years ago, there were researchers who kind of got together, and it's interesting to think it was only 40 years ago. The field of prevention science is a pretty early one. So they got together and they said, the way that we're doing prevention right now, in the limited scope that it is, isn't enough, and how do we make it better? And really that's where they developed this Communities That Care process of addressing risk factors, the root causes of problems, instead of just addressing the problems themselves and intervening when it's already happened.
Okay.
So they really did a lot of research. They followed 12 different communities and assessed the communities that were doing Communities That Care prevention and communities that were doing prevention as normal to see what was better.
Okay.
And lo and behold, Communities That Care had significant results. I think the Communities That Care communities had a 49% reduction in gateway drug use compared to those who were doing prevention as normal. And there were other reductions, such as in violence and different usage rates as well.
So you had a trainer come in from another community then to kick this off?
Yeah, so we have a coach from the University of Washington, Daylene. And Daylene really came in and kicked it off and said, okay, key leaders, this is what you need to know, and you're going to get started. So Daylene is still involved in the process. She is coaching me as I coach the community through Communities That Care. And so she was actually one of the original communities of Communities That Care in Camden, Maine. So we're really excited to have her.
Those Northeast people, they really got it going.
Yes.
Well, especially research-based, I have to say, with Yale University and all the other great things along the Maine and further down East Coast, it really makes a difference. Can you give us an example, perhaps, of one of those factors that you're talking about, the supportive factors,
Yeah, so Community Set Care breaks it up into risk factors and protective factors. And on the risk factor side and the protective factor side, they break it down into 4 domains. So family, school, community, and then peer and individual. So an example of a community risk factor would be the availability of drugs, or communities and laws and norms that favor whether it's drug use or antisocial behavior. School, we have like low commitment to school. Family could be something as family conflict or family management issues. And then individual and peer, which has to do with social norms among your friends, your peer group, friends who engage in problem behaviors, really.
And so those are the risk factors, and we know that they exist, and they probably are going to continue to exist. So let's talk about the protective factors then.
Yeah, so Community Set Care has 7 individual protective factors and then 3 protective factors that relate to community, family, and family, community, and school. And really what the best way to sum it up is the social development strategy. And what the social development strategy is giving youth opportunities and skills and recognition for positive behavior choices, and really having them bond to the community and the school and making those healthy behavior choices. So it's all about how do we build those levels of protection while also reducing the risk factors that are available around.
And so some of those things in terms of bonding to the school, we've seen a shift, as it were, in our school district in terms of how they're dealing with kids that are misbehaving, for example. Used to be you'd get a suspension, you were bad at school, so you don't come to school for 5 days. Well, that was a real punishment, right? So now things have shifted a bit. Are there future engagements with the school? Are you guys doing those things together? Is the school district a part of the executive roundtable that's sort of spearheading this coordination and collaboration with y'all?
Yeah, so the school district is a member of the executive roundtable, and they have signed their commitment form to be involved in Community Set Care. So as we go through this process, really looking at how we can even build social development strategy and day-to-day interactions between staff and children, and really looking at how we can make the school a place of protection.
Sounds great, but we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and I've got more questions for you, Kyleigh.
Looking forward to it.
That's great. Treasure Coast Community Health in-house pharmacies have the lowest prices in Indian River County, even lower than big box pharmacies. Taking your medication as prescribed leads to better health. Affordable medicine makes it easier. Treasure Coast Community Health patients can pick up medicine as they leave the office or use free delivery and mail order services. Pharmacists are always available to answer questions. Switch to TCCH pharmacies. Save money, stay healthy. 772-257-8224 and ask about our price match.
Create your restful retreat and save 50% now on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington Home during our winter sale and President's Day event now through February 28th at Sunshine Furniture. Sophisticated looks with a mix of contemporary, coastal, and Caribbean styles, Tommy Bahama Home offers everything you need for your personal paradise. At Sunshine Furniture, we have the largest selection of in-stock coastal and casual sofas, love seats, chairs, slipcover sofas, bedroom, dining, and occasional furniture from Four Seasons, Capri, Best, Bark Lounger, Hooker, Universal, and more. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have anything you need for your patio or lanai, including a gallery of Lloyd Flanders, Berlin Garden, Woodard, Hollywood, Brown Jordan, Windward, and Kingsley Bate. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach next to Planet Fitness. Family owned and operated since 1991. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store directly across the street.
Sunshine Furniture.
Hey, did you hear the latest about our Florida Highwomen?
No, what?
There's a new Highwomen art gallery in Vero Beach.
Really? Where?
1872 Commerce Avenue.
Wow, when's it open?
7 days a week. Call 954-557-6226 for an appointment anytime.
No kidding?
Just call for your appointment, 954-557-6226, and then go to 1872 Commerce Avenue.
Wow, that's good news.
A member of the iTex trading community. Your iTex dollars are welcome.
And welcome back to Community Conversations. My name is Vicki Soule, and I'm the CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health. Yes, it sounds like a script I say every time I come back, but want you all to know, because sometimes you get busy and you don't get the beginning of the show, or you've just jumped in the car and turned to the radio station, and here I am. So, Treasure Coast Community Health is grateful to be a part of this community because it is a very special community. And like all communities, we're always striving to do better, whether it's a few or a larger group or the entire community. And this, as I said earlier today, is like the little town that grew up. Many people have told me they've grown up here. Their grandparents may have come here, or maybe their parents came here when they were very small. But it is a community that's pretty solid. We are seeing new people come in, and so that's why we continue to work towards keeping this paradise so special. And to that end, I've got Kyleigh Savoie with me today. She is from the Substance Awareness Center, and we talked about her background in the Quit Doc Foundation and, just prevention in general, trying to ensure that that ounce of prevention is still worth a pound of cure, getting people to understand the risks and the benefits of having a more healthy lifestyle than perhaps they were brought up to understand or have expressed in their family situation as well. So, Kyleigh, you were talking about communities that care and how this is a new initiative for us to involve the whole community, but it's not something that's brand new. It goes back to research and evidence-based practice that started up in Maine some 40-ish years ago.
Yeah, so it's been going on for about 40 years that they've been developing this process, and a lot of communities across the United States and internationally have adopted this Communities That Care process. And actually, interesting enough, St. Lucie County went through the Communities That Care process about 20 years ago.
So I'll bet they've got some data that shows some improvement.
Yes.
Okay. But of course, it's always another generation coming up behind the last one. So that work is never done. But I like the idea that you've identified risk factors that will add to or subtract from a great lifestyle, whether it's depression and anxiety or violence in the community, all of those things that affect us, if not at the family unit, certainly in the greater community itself. Tell me again the risk factors that are most likely.
So what we will do, so there's 20 risk factors that are supported by, there are 20 risk factors that are supported by research, but what is going to happen is we are working with our local data sources to really see, okay, which risk factors are the highest in our community.
Okay.
And what we will do as key leaders and as the community is we'll say, okay, these are the 2 risk factors that we are going to make an effort to address for the next 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
And that is the one thing about Communities That Care is it is a long-term process. It is not a quick overnight fix. We are in it for the long haul. It is going to take, 2 to 5 years to really start seeing the changes on these risk factors.
Very similar to the learning alliances. We're going to have everybody reading at the 3rd grade level, by X day, and that date came and went because we didn't understand the learning science and how the brain starts, collects information, stores it from a very early age on, and how important things like vocabulary are at a 2-year-old or 3-year-old level compared to reading at a 2nd or 3rd grade level some years later. And so I applaud the fact that it is a long-term thing, and we can identify what makes the most importance of a difference here as part of community leaders through the Executive Roundtable. But it goes beyond the Executive Roundtable, does it not?
Yeah, so the Executive Roundtable serve as our key leaders, so they're the ones that are saying we're going to support the process however we need to, legislatively, financially, we're going to find a way to make this work. But really the people who are doing the day-to-day work and the people who are the most involved is the community itself, right? It is not Kylie's that care, it is not the roundtable that cares, it is the community that cares. So a large part of the work that we are doing right now is really trying to increase that community awareness of what this is. How does it work? How can I be involved?
Okay. And so do you have some trainings that are set up?
Yeah, so actually we did just do our first community board training for about 17 people back on February 7th. And so that was a really great first introduction, but we have another one coming up for anyone who is interested on March 2nd.
And when you say anyone, you mean anyone?
Anyone.
They don't have to be a teacher or...
No, as long as you live or even just serve Indian River County, you are invited to attend.
Okay. So is it an all-day thing, and how do they need to register?
So how that works is it'll be March 2nd from 9 to 11 a.m. So it is a 2-hour training hosted at the United Way of Indian River County. And to register, all they have to do is send me an email at ksavoie@sacirc.org.
Okay, SAV.
OIE.
Okay.
At sacirc.org.
It sounds very easy when you hear it, but then when you go to write it. Okay, so do you anticipate perhaps another one in March or April if people aren't able to attend?
Yeah, so the goal is to have these at least every other month, if not monthly, depending on the interest. We like to try and have at least 10 people. So if there's an interest to host one in April and May, we will be doing that as well, because again, we just want to get everybody involved.
So when you say, again, I'm going to press on this everyone, because sometimes everyone means everyone who has a nonprofit, or everyone who's a teacher, or everyone who lives in the community. So retirees, for example, if they want to learn more about this community and add their volunteer time to understanding, if not promoting, they could come as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any lower age limits?
So no, because we actually have youth involved in the CTC process. So if youth want to get involved, there's different ways for them to be involved in that as well.
That's awesome. And so what's the end goal here?
So really the end goal is to get through the first 5 phases. So CTC is broken up into 5 phases from, we just completed phase 1, which was getting started. Now we're in phase 2, which is building the community. So getting the community involved. And from there, we will go to 3, which is where we select our risk factors. 4, we will create an action plan. And then 5 is boosting up or implementing any programs we might need to. And then it starts over.
With another risk factor.
Yeah, so it's really still early in the process, but anyone can join at any point. And this process will take about 2 years to get through.
Well, I'm so glad that you were elected, suggested, or appointed to be the coordinator, because it certainly needs someone at the helm to continue to gather all the information and coordinate everyone getting together and understanding it. Some of the things that we could do as a community, just in general, be kind. Do you have a couple of affirming things?
Well, so really the biggest thing that you can do as a community member, and things that we are hoping to implement in the future, whether it's through trainings or little information sessions, is practicing social development strategy, right? Building protection in your everyday life, making sure that the youth in your life have opportunities to be involved, that they have the skills they need, and then they get recognition for doing those things.
For doing the good things that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough sometimes to focus on the good things. We tend, particularly those that are very focused on, I want this child to be the very best they can be. Sometimes we get into more of a critical problem than we do helpful, guiding, affirming. Good job, Joe, for honest reasons, not just because every child should get a trophy. So that's really good to hear. If people have questions, can they also email you?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have a phone number, or you pretty much by email?
Email is the easiest way to reach me, but if you do want to contact by phone, you can call our office. That number is 772-770-4811.
And that group is also still giving out Narcan for folks who are involved with people with substance use disorder?
Yes, our office, the Substance Awareness Center, in partnership with our Safer Coalition, is working on distributing Narcan throughout the community.
Very good. Thank you so much for being with us today, Kyleigh.
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to bringing you back in a year, and then we'll be talking about what you've learned, the successes, how we're on probably stage 4 at that time, and again, how others can continue to be involved with this to be a community that cares. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you next week. We'll have other great guests, as we always do. So thank you for being with us, and share this information out to this wonderful community that we live in through your friends and neighbors and relatives. Have a good night.